To look at Jane is to witness the single most successful psychological operation in immortal history. The average vampire sees only a lethal guard, wielding an unparalleled gift for psychic torture. A historian looks closer and finds something far more insidious. Aro did not merely recruit a powerful vampire. He curated a porcelain facade, built a living idol, forged a religious icon to act as both moral compass and ultimate weapon of the Volturi regime. Viewed through the lens of the divine right of kings, her story reveals how unwavering devotion can turn cold-blooded execution into a holy necessity. She is far more than a guard. She is Aro's most effective piece of propaganda, a masterstroke of branding that hides a genocidal regime behind the face of an angel. The genius of Aro's choice rests on an innate bias shared by humans and vampires alike, the automatic association of beauty and innocence with goodness. We are biologically wired to link youth and physical perfection to moral worth, and Aro weaponized that instinct with surgical precision. Jane's physical form, frozen at the delicate threshold between childhood and adolescence, is no accident of biology. It is a deliberate aesthetic choice, designed to sanctify every act of Volterran brutality. When she steps forward to inflict searing, unendurable pain, the victim does not only fight a soldier. They stand judged by a figure that could have stepped straight from a Renaissance fresco, haloed in sainthood. The cognitive dissonance runs so deep it paralyzes dissent on its own. How do you rebel against a creature that looks like the very definition of purity? Aro knew a monster, and a monster's shape is merely a threat. A monster in the shape of a child is a divine mandate. This manufactured sanctity forms the bedrock of Jane's entire psychological makeup. Her lack of remorse is no flaw. It is a byproduct of a radicalized belief system that treats Aro's will as the only moral compass in a chaotic universe. Cruelty does not exist in Jane's world. Only the law exists, and the law is Aro. Her devotion runs far deeper than a soldier's loyalty to a general. It burns with the zealotry of a prophet bowing to her deity. She does not see sentient beings when she looks at her victims. She sees heretics who have dared to disrupt the perfect order of her God's kingdom. Her psychic fire is no act of malice. In her mind, it is holy purgatory, a necessary cleansing that all who fail the crown must endure. Aro's brilliance lay in recognizing that power works best when wrapped in the language of destiny. Positioning Jane as his primary instrument of retribution let him wash political blood from his own hands. He does not order executions. He allows Jane's divine judgment to unfold. This single choice lifted the Volturi from a mere political council into a full theological authority. Jane is living proof of their divine right to rule. Visible evidence that the Volturi are not just the strongest coven. They are the chosen one. Her presence alone carries the weight of inevitable, godlike judgment, keeping the global vampire population trapped in a state of perpetual, faith-based fear. They do not only fear the pain she inflicts, they fear the existential truth she represents. In the eyes of the Volturi, you are already guilty. This is the psychological reality of the porcelain executioner, a girl broken by the world, then rebuilt by a tyrant to serve as the ultimate mirror of his own vanity. A hollow vessel into which Aro poured his most ruthless ambitions, then dressed them all in lace and velvet. Peel back the layers of this holy facade, and you find a soul entirely replaced by a political mission. Jane does not exist outside her role as Volterra's icon. She is the dream of a god and the nightmare of the world, a beautiful lie told for 1,000 years until it became the only truth that matters. To understand Jane is to understand the terrifying power of a child taught that her sole purpose is to burn the world in the name of love. To truly grasp the hold Jane has over the vampire psyche, you must look past the pain she inflicts and study the vessel that carries it. Her appearance is no random quirk of genetics. It is a curated religious relic, placed front and center in the Cathedral of Volterra. We are faced with a stark visual contradiction. A girl whose form carries the fragile innocence of a Renaissance painting, whose eyes hold the darkness that has outlasted a millennium. This contrast is the cornerstone of the Volturi propaganda machine. Within the cold stone halls of the council, she acts as a visual paradox, short-circuiting the natural instincts of everyone who stands before her. She is the porcelain executioner, a figure crafted to prove the Volturi presence is more than a political reality. It is the manifestation of a higher, infinitely more terrifying power. The genius of this iconography is its ability to mask tyranny behind a mask of purity. When a coven is dragged before the triumvirate to answer for their crimes, they expect to face monsters. They expect jagged teeth, the predatory glint of an ancient regime. Instead, they find a girl who looks as though she belongs in a sunlit meadow, not standing as final arbiter of immortal life. This deliberate aesthetic subversion is a calculated public relations weapon. It creates a psychological shudder effect, where the victim's mind refuses to process the danger until it is already too late. By the time you realize the small, delicate figure in the gray cloak is the source of your agony, your autonomy has already been stripped away. Aro used Jane's beauty to sanitize state-sanctioned murder, rebranding cold-blooded execution as something elegant, orderly, and predestined. This physical facade functions as a clear signal of divine presence, and its power deserves close examination. Throughout human history, the most effective dictatorships have always understood the power of the living icon, a figure who embodies the regime's ideals more vividly than words ever could. Jane is that icon for the Volturi. Her stillness is not the stillness of a soldier. It is the stillness of a statue carved for a church. She personifies the sacred nature of the law. So far removed does she seem from the grime of the mortal world that her judgments feel handed down from the heavens, not born from the whims of a greedy king like Aro. She is the visual proof of divine right. When she fixes those wide, haunting eyes on a defendant, she does not only see a criminal. She looks through them, as if reading a sentence written long before they were ever born. Her physical form also serves as a chilling reminder of the regime's long memory. The Volturi do not merely recruit power. They freeze it at its most potent, most deceptive peak. She is a relic of an era when the line between holy and horrific wore thin. As younger vampires drift toward a more secular, pragmatic existence in the modern world, she stands as a defiant monument to the old ways. The living fire of the ancient world, dressed in Renaissance velvet. Her presence at any confrontation carries the weight of inevitable, godlike judgment, far beyond the scope of mere physical combat. She is the signal that negotiation has ended, that the time for grace, or rather its violent absence, has begun. This visual strategy creates a chilling effect that radiates far beyond Volterra's walls. Every vampire who has ever seen Jane, or even heard tales of the pale girl in the cloak, carries within them a seed of faith-based fear. They do not only fear the pain she causes, they fear the divinity she represents. The idea that a power so absolute can take the shape of a child and still bring the whole world to its knees. Jane is ultimate proof that in Aro's kingdom, beauty is no virtue. It is a weapon. She is the porcelain mask hiding the rot of an empire, a holy icon that keeps the world trapped in a state of perpetual, wide-eyed terror. In the ritualistic world of Volterra, a trial is never just a trial. It is a liturgical event. When a coven is dragged before the thrones, the air grows thick with the weight of ancient tradition. Setting, robes, silence. Every detail is calibrated to stoke religious awe, and the climax of this liturgy is always Jane. When she fixes her gaze on a defendant and breathes that single whispered word, pain, it lands as an act of predestined justice. The suffering she inflicts is not framed as punishment for a crime. It is presented as the outward mark of the victim's internal guilt. By the twisted logic of the Volturi, if you suffer beneath Jane's gaze, it is because the universe has willed it so. Aro uses her as a shortcut through ethical complexity, replacing the need for evidence with the undeniable reality of a victim's scream. Her presence also serves a critical strategic function in coven confrontations outside Volterra. When the Volturi march, they do not move like an army. They move like a pilgrimage. Jane always stands near the front, a small, gray-cloaked figure who embodies the inevitability of the regime's judgment. Her appearance signals that negotiation ended long ago. By the time she is deployed, the holy verdict has already been reached. This sustains the chilling effect that traps the global vampire population in perpetual, faith-based fear. Faith-based, because it relies on belief in the Volturi as an unstoppable, divinely sanctioned force. Jane is living proof of that belief. Her gift is so absolute, her appearance so otherworldly, that she makes the Volturi's claim to divine right feel like objective truth. To unpack the internal mechanics of Jane's mind, we must move past the master-servant dynamic and frame her bond with Aro as something far more profound, the connection between a deity and his most faithful prophet. Within the psychological landscape of Volterra, Aro does not merely command Jane. He defines her entire reality. Burned at the stake by a superstitious human village, she saw him as a god descending from the heavens to pull her from the flames. He gave her more than immortality. He gave her a purpose that retroactively justified every moment of her suffering. This is the foundation of her theology. Her unwavering devotion is no casual choice. It is a radicalized belief system, where Aro's will is the only moral compass in a chaotic, cruel universe. She is the spiritual anchor of the Volturi, the only one who truly believes in the divinity of their mission. That absolute devotion is what sets Jane apart from every other member of the Volturi Guard. Others serve for power, for protection, for the thrill of the hunt. Pragmatic Felix, opportunistic Dimitri, all driven by tangible rewards. Jane serves out of holy obligation. Her lack of remorse does not stem from simple sociopathic detachment. It grows from total alignment with Aro's vision. Mercy would be heresy in her mind. To feel pity for a victim would be to doubt her God's wisdom. This is what makes her the most dangerous figure in the regime. She cannot be swayed by empathy or reasoned with through logic. She has surrendered her individual conscience to the collective sanctity of the Volturi crown. The fragility of that holy facade was laid bare on the snowy fields of the Olympic Peninsula. When Jane met Bella Swan's mental shield, the shield of the heart, the religious illusion did not merely fail, it shattered. For the first time in 1,000 years, the prophet of pain was rendered impotent. This was more than a tactical defeat. It was a theological crisis. If Jane's divine fire could be snuffed out by a newborn's protective love, then the entire foundation of the Volturi's divine right stood exposed as a lie. The psychological consequences of this failure are catastrophic for Jane. Her entire identity rests on the belief her power is absolute, sanctified. When that power fails, she is no longer a holy icon. She is just a small, traumatized girl in an oversized cloak, standing alone in the cold. Collapse of Jane's holy icon status would signal the inevitable fall of the entire Volturi political structure. The regime relies on the faith-based fear she inspires to keep the global vampire population in check. Strip away the aura of predestined justice she provides, and the Volturi stand revealed for exactly what they are, a cabal of ancient, greedy predators who have overstayed their welcome in world history. The moment global covens stop kneeling is the moment Volterra's thrones become kindling. Jane is the keystone of the arch. Her sanctity holds the heavy stones of Aro's ambition in place. If she falls, the cathedral falls with her. As we conclude this deconstruction of the porcelain executioner, one truth stands clear. Jane is the most tragic figure in the Volturi's dark theater. A victim of genius-level manipulation. A girl taught to believe her cruelty is her greatest virtue. She remains the face of Volturi tyranny, a beautiful, haunting paradox that proves how easily brutality can be rebranded as holiness. She is the angel of the void, the prophet of a dying religion, living proof that in the world of night, the most dangerous wears the face of a child's prayer. The sun is setting on the Volturi era. As the light fades, the cracks in the porcelain grow harder and harder to hide. Jane may still stand at the left hand of the throne, her eyes burning with the phantom fire of her past. But the world no longer closes its eyes when she speaks. The age of the holy icon is over. The age of the predator stands exposed. And in the silence that follows her whispered pain, we can finally hear the sound of the foundation beginning to crumble.